Please welcome back your Adia Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Anthony Bolada.
Good morning. Good morning. You know, you are the real champions this morning. Even though daylight savings time was Saturday night, this is really the day that it's toughest to get up early. So give yourselves a round of applause, please. Because you are the real impossibles. Thank you for joining us this morning. Welcome to the Adia Tapestry Table Plenary, sponsored by Procter & Gamble and Haleon. This is our fourth gathering as part of the Tapestry Table to learn and reflect on important issues related to equity, diversion, inclusion, and belonging. This year's theme is Embroidering Within the Boundaries, Weaving Global Change for Women and Girls, and features a conversation with former Afghanistan Minister of Education, Minister Rangina Hamidi, and she is lovely. It's going to be a terrific conversation. However, before we get there, we get to hand out some awards, my favorite part of this ceremony. So, just a note to you, if you are a recipient, I will ask you to stand when you hear your name called. Actually, I'm going to change that today. You will stand at the end of all the awards. So I will announce your name. You'll remain seated at the end of all the awards. I'll invite you all up for a round of applause, all right? All right? Are we possible? Thank you. You made me feel so good. Thank you. All right. On Friday evening, members of the Adia Leadership Institute class of 2023 gathered for a well-deserved commencement dinner and ceremony. This morning, we'd like to recognize all 27 class members who graduated. Please rise at this time so that we can congratulate you, our members of the 2023 class. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations. There are now 476 total graduates of the Leadership Institute. I met one of them the other day, Terry Matthews. She was lovely. We also have with us the Adia Leadership Institute class for 2024. Now, these talented faculty members began their program with an orientation this past Friday. Will the 2024 Adia Leadership Institute Fellows please stand? Congratulations. Now, are you invited to dinner as well, or just the orientation? Did you have dinner as well on Friday? No. So you don't get dinner until next year. Okay, just wanted to set that straight, right? All right, let's begin the awards portion of the program. Once again, recipients, you'll remain seated until the end of the awards, and then I'll invite you up. Don't worry, I will remember, I hope. Our first award, the Adia Colgate-Palmolive Company Excellence in Teaching Award, is presented to, from UT Health Houston School of Dentistry, Dr. Dorini van der Hoven. We love the chairs, we love them. Our next award, the Adia Colgate-Palmolive Company National Dental Association, Dr. Jean C. Sinkford Scholar in the Adia Leadership Institute, goes to, from Howard University College of Dentistry, Dr. Elena Smiley. The Adia Leadership Institute Alumni Association Award to honor Jack Bresch goes to, from Indiana University School of Dentistry, Dr. Pamela Linder. The Adia AAD OCR Colgate-Palmolive Company, Dr. Dominic P. DiPaola Scholar in the Adia Leadership Institute is, from UT Health Houston School of Dentistry, Dr. Juanita Ono. Congratulations. The Adia American Association of Endodontists Foundation Scholar in the Adia Leadership Institute goes to, from New York University College of Dentistry, Dr. Laurel Burns. 2 recipients are being named Adia American College of Dentists Dr. Jerome Bright Miller Scholars in the Adia Leadership Institute. The first from Indiana University School of Dentistry is Paul Edwards, Dr. Paul Edwards. And the second from West Virginia University School of Dentistry is Dr. Valerie Perrine. Congratulations to you both. This year's recipient of the Adia Enid A. Neidl Scholar in Residence Award from the Maurice H. Kornberg School of Dentistry, Temple University, is Dr. Kelly Holst. This year's recipient of the Adia Council of Students, Residents, and Fellows, Colgate-Palmolive Company Junior Faculty Award goes to, from Old Dominion University College of Health Sciences School of Dental Hygiene, Ms. Emily Ludwig. Four recipients of the Adia Faculty of Color Tuition Scholarships for Professional Development. These participants will participate in the annual Adia Emerging Leaders Program, and they are from Oregon Health and Science University School of Dentistry, Dr. Ahmad Alcazela. From University of Connecticut School of Dental Medicine, Dr. Lanlin Cho. From Virginia Commonwealth University School of Dentistry, Dr. Paula Coates. And from Texas A&M University School of Dentistry, Ms. Kayla Reed. Congratulations to you all. The recipient of the Adia Leadership Institute Phase 5 Leadership Development Tuition Scholarship also participates in the Adia Emerging Leaders Program. This year's awardee from University of Pennsylvania School of Dental Medicine is Dr. Chen-Shuang Li. And receiving our inaugural Adia Gillette Hayden Memorial Foundation AAWD Woman Dentist Tuition Scholarship from Tufts University School of Dental Medicine is Dr. Samantha Parad. And lastly, but certainly not least, the recipients of the Adia Student Poster Awards, sponsored by Dentsply Sirona, are: third place goes to Caitlin Lee from the University of Michigan School of Dentistry. Second place goes to Shayla Yoakum from University of Nebraska Medical Center College of Dentistry. And our first place winner is Dana Chan from Stony Brook University School of Dental Medicine. Would all of today's award winners please stand for some well-deserved applause? Please stand now. Congratulations to you, and thank you for joining us. Congratulations. All right, our final award this morning is also a new award. It's the Adia Dr. Jean C. Sinkford Faculty Leadership Award. It is made possible by a generous gift from Mary Kay Leonard and Dr. Rick Valakovic through the Leonard and Valakovic Fund. Here to present this inaugural award are Dr. Rick Valakovic, President Emeritus of Adia, and from A.T. Still University, Missouri School of Dentistry and Oral Health, Dr. Dwight McLeod. Please welcome them out.
Thank you. Dr. Jean Craig Sinkford is an iconic trailblazer and visionary leader in dental education. As the first woman and first African-American woman dental dean in the United States, Dr. Sinkford's pioneering efforts empowered individuals from all backgrounds to advance to the pinnacle of their careers in dental education, which resulted in transformational changes in the field of dentistry. This inaugural award is given to a U.S. or Canadian faculty member in dental education who is dedicated to academia, diversity, and social justice, and who demonstrates compassion and integrity. The faculty recipient who exemplifies Dr. Singford's values will influence and encourage others to continue the journey for health equity, diversity, and social justice, as there is still much work to be done. Congratulations to the award recipient, Dr. Carla Smith from Virginia Commonwealth University School of Dentistry. And now, Dr. Rick Valakovic.
Well, thank you, Dr. McLeod. It's a distinct honor and pleasure for my wife, Mary Kay, and me to provide the financial support for this inaugural award honoring the work and legacy of Dr. Jean Craig Singford thus far. And I say thus far with all the meaning that those words convey. Dr. Singford and I met just last month to continue the work on projects that we had been pursuing since we were together at ADIA. I came to know Jean through a mutual colleague, Dr. Joseph L. Henry, in 1982, and have marveled at her impact on dental and health professions education ever since. You may remember that Dr. Singford came to ADIA in 1991 after serving as Dean of the Howard University College of Dentistry, and I joined her at ADIA as CEO in 1997. While I thought I knew everything about dental education, Jean was always there to correct my foolishness and help me understand the profound role that ADIA could have on future access for women and those underrepresented and marginalized, and including their careers. As I look back, there's nothing more important to me than the successes that we experienced through Jean's leadership. There are too many to list here today, but consider the many projects that Jean led with the generous support that she cultivated through a number of foundations, or the 6 ADIA International Women's Leadership Conferences that we held throughout the world, or the many journal articles that we published together, and our work continues. Earlier, I mentioned a mutual colleague, Dr. Joseph Henry. He served as a mentor to both of us. Whenever Jean and I would face a roadblock, she would invoke Dr. Henry's name to inspire us once again, saying, "Remember, Rick, Joe's watching." When Dr. Singford learned who the award recipient was, here's how she commented. Quote, "He participated in the ADIA Kellogg Minority Faculty Development Program at Michigan, and I've always admired the historical and ethical lens through which he constantly inspires us to view and reflect on the world. I continue to follow his career, and I'm proud of his commitment to making the spaces within dental education and oral health more diverse and more inclusive. His love of learning is evident, and in teaching, he empowers students to see the entire person so that they provide the compassion, empathy, respect, and care that every person deserves. Most of all, he has the humility to go with his brilliance. I'd like to congratulate Dr. Carlos Smith on this award. Unfortunately, he can't be with us here in person due to an important family commitment. He's recorded a brief acceptance.
It is an absolute honor to accept this inaugural ADIA Dr. Jean Craig Singford Faculty Leadership Award. 20 years ago this spring, I was finishing my collegiate career at Hampton University, attempting to decide where to attend dental school. I made the University of Michigan School of Dentistry my choice. It was in the hallowed halls of Michigan that I stumbled upon a Jet magazine cover from 1958. The woman on that cover, Dr. Jean Craig Singford. So it is a high honor to accept this award today that bears her name. In the spirit and legacy of Dr. Singford, I charge each of us individually and collectively as a dental education community to go further, to take the risk, to envision a dental profession that even the least amongst us would see as trustworthy, just, accessible, free of oppression and the systemic ills that plague us today. We can get there together.
The ADIA staff will ensure that he receives the award. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Dr. Velikovic, it's great to see you again. All right, well, you know, sometimes we have to be out of our comfort zone, and that might mean telling a little joke. Whenever somebody mentions telling a joke backstage, I hear, So here's my joke. What's the difference between a genie and an academic? A genie grants wishes, an academic wishes for grants. Right? Woo! Please welcome back Chair of the Board in his centennies, I should say, Dr. Nader Nader-Shahi. Come on out.
Wishes for grants. That was good. Anthony made me laugh this morning. I appreciate that. So good morning, everyone, and welcome. First, I'd like to start by congratulating the ADIA Award recipients. You have all already shown yourselves as true leaders, and I look forward to seeing all that you will achieve in the future. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of also honoring Dr. Jean C. Sinkford by awarding her the ADIA Distinguished Service Award. I echo Dr. Velikovic and Dr. McLeod. Dr. Sinkford is an icon, and her dedication to advancing health equity, diversity, and social justice are evident throughout dental education, oral health, and healthcare. Through her leadership, she continues to embody "Believe I'm possible." A visionary who is always dreaming of what's possible, Dr. Sinkford was also instrumental in the establishment of the ADIA Enid A. Neidl Scholar in Residence Program, which was established in 1994. The Neidl Scholars Program offers a unique opportunity for women dental educators to hone their leadership skills, expand their research portfolio with the support of mentors, and explore topics related to the advancement of women and gender equity. In January of this year, 12 of the scholars spent time with Dr. Sinkford and 4 days at ADIA headquarters in Washington, D.C., focusing on 21st century leadership skills to better prepare them to lead and drive change in academic dentistry. I'd like to recognize the scholars with us today. Neidl scholars, would you all please stand to be recognized? Thank you. You may be seated. It is in the spirit of making what's impossible possible that we convene around the United Nations Sustainability Development Goal known as SDG 5, achieving global gender equity. You see the pins that you received on the way in. A recent World Bank article noted that only 89% of girls globally complete primary education, and only 77% complete lower secondary education, which is 9 years of schooling. As I shared with you yesterday, the song Baraye is particularly special to me because of my family being from Iranian descent. Baraye is the unofficial anthem for the women-led protests in Iran, in which women and men, despite fears of imprisonment and torture, are demanding better domestic violence protection for women and girls, a relaxation of strict dress codes imposed on women, and other basic human rights that limit women's marriage, inheritance, freedom of movement, and other choices. It is one of the largest human rights movements of our time. My mother grew up at a time in Iran when it was difficult and not accepted for women to seek education, and families feared judgment for educating their daughters. Despite these challenges, my mother not only completed her primary and secondary education, but eventually earned a master's degree and served as a principal of an all-girls school in Iran. My mother passed away 8 years ago, but I honor her today for her courage, her resilience, and her willingness to invest in the lives of so many young girls. Her conviction, commitment, and compassion ripple through time, impacting the many lives that she touched. I also honor her for the love, lessons, and legacy that she left me and my entire family. Without her resolve, resilience, and commitment to education, and ability to encourage everyone to believe impossible, my brother and I would not be the people that we are today for our families. We would not have completed our education or become the first doctors in our family, nor would we both be dental educators, and I would certainly not be standing here before you today. She continues to be my role model and my North Star. As we prepare to hear from Minister Hamidi, the lyrics to the song Baroye and the cries for freedom, gender equality, equity, justice, and hope become more poignant, personal, and urgent to each of us. For my sister, your sister, our sisters, for the students, for the future, for the imprisoned intellects, for the Afghani children, for women, life, freedom, for freedom, for freedom, for freedom. I believe that personally and professionally, we cannot separate ourselves from the battles for human rights, health equity, equality, and justice, whether in Iran, Afghanistan, Ukraine, Haiti, or a street corner in Memphis, Tennessee. Most of all, the protests and demands for justice in Iran and throughout the world fill me with hope. Hope, for I believe that as a global community, if we commit both in the short and long term, that we can make a difference for freedom, and make believe impossible a reality for more people, for our children, and those who fight for hope around the world. So as we celebrate our centennial, I want to thank you, my University of the Pacific Degoni School family, and my IDEA family, for you give me hope every day. Thank you for not only giving me hope, but for the many things you do that inspire those around you with hope and belief in themselves. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Karen West, IDEA President and CEO, to the stage. Dr. West.
Thank you, Dr. Dadashahi. The theme of this year's IDEA Tapestry table is embroidering within the boundaries, weaving global change for women and girls. We are excited about this theme for many reasons, including its natural link to the 2024 IDEA International Women's Leadership Conference, IWLC, which will be held in New Orleans on March 12th and 13th, 2024. As Dr. Valakovic noted, Dr. Jean Sigford was a key architect in the creation of IWLC. Additionally, Dr. Sigford was instrumental in establishing the IDEA Center for Equity and Diversity, CED, in 1998, and served as its director. CED provided extensive programming, research, and training opportunities, and supported partnerships with the goal of not only advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, but also improving oral health and health outcomes for all populations. CED also led strategies to increase the diversity of our faculty, staff, students, residents, and fellows, with the center amassing more than $22 million in grants. As we focus on new thinking for the new century, issues of inclusion, equity, and diversity permeate all aspects of academic dentistry, healthcare, and our global society. And we continue to do the hard work in advocating for change and ensure the same civil rights, human rights for all persons, particularly marginalized and disenfranchised persons nationally and globally. Therefore, I am happy to announce that as part of ADIA's commitment and in the spirit of the work that Dr. Singford started with the center, we are reestablishing the ADIA Center as an institute, integrating DEIB as the norm throughout oral health, the academic health professions, and healthcare. We are currently looking for naming opportunities and look forward to your support as we launch this renewal ADIA Institute. You'll hear more about the Institute in the very near future. As Dr. Nada Shahi noted, we gather to reflect on issues of gender equality, quality equation, and lifting women and girls out of poverty. However, the last month has also been very painfully difficult as we mourn the devastating loss of life from the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria and watch the protests in our own country calling for equal justice and legal reform. These topics, both nationally and internationally, make our discussions around equity and personal reflections regarding our roles as global citizens in helping to solve these issues even more important. As we reflect upon these issues in all that's happening around us, I continue to be struck by the importance of this historical moment, the ADIA Centennial, and our gathering here today. Therefore, in honor of ADIA Centennial, I would like to share this celebration video with you.
One word that best describes ADIA for me is opportunities.
Community.
Family.
Engaging.
Trajectory.
Catalyst.
Innovative.
Collaboration.
Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this community. It has meant the world to me in my career as a dental educator. Thank you for all the hard work, the wonderful work, and Godspeed going forward.
It gives us an opportunity to be in front of these key thought leaders, networking with everybody, these decision makers at special events like this. So it's just been very positive, and we feel it's a great organization.
ADIA has been a constant source of support for me as a dental educator. My 100-year anniversary wish for ADIA is another 100 years of supporting dental educators.
As a dental assistant instructor, it's very well engaging for me to be able to come to these meetings and listen to all of their ideas. Congratulations and best wishes.
It's been an opportunity to network, to get to know a lot of people, and has provided me with the opportunities for leadership. ADIA has been so instrumental in my profession as an educator.
Congratulations on the 100th anniversary, and I'm really excited for ADIA to make sure that ADIA looks back and seize its past, its successes, as well as to be nimble in being able to shape the future leaders and be able to be comfortable leading in uncomfortable times.
My anniversary wish for ADIA is that the next 100 years is even more amazing than the first 100 years.
I like the way that they've reached out, they've heard what we had to say, and they've acted upon those things. I'm wishing that the next 50 years would be even more resourceful, more helpful, and keep us all under that great umbrella.
Keep committed to the strong values that have gotten us to this point, and I know that we'll shape a brighter future for oral health care for our entire nation.
Dental education has changed dramatically in those 100 years, and this is the time to celebrate. And so I hope everybody gets out and becomes part of that celebration.
My wish for ADIA on our 100th birthday is that we embrace this opportunity for change, that we continue our trajectory to increase access to both oral health and oral health professions for all people.
My anniversary wish for ADIA is another 100 years of innovation in dental education and service for all our oral health programs, and to continue giving us the resources and empowerment to help us thrive in dental education.
We've had 100 years in the past, and we've gotten to where we are today, and we're very proud of where we are.
My wish would be that ADIA would just be very bold and try to really cut through barriers that have just been long-standing.
Thank you, ADIA, for all that you do. Happy anniversary.
Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA.
Happy 100 years anniversary, ADIA.
Happy centennial, ADIA.
Happy 100 years anniversary, ADIA.
Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA.
Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA.
Happy 100!
Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA.
Happy centennial, ADIA. We love you.
Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA.
Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA. Yes.
Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA.
Thank you, ADIA, for all you do. Happy 100th anniversary, ADIA.
Happy anniversary, ADIA, and happy anniversary to us.
Happy 100th anniversary, and there'll be many more to come.
Hey, ADIA, happy 100th anniversary.
Happy 100!
The ADIA Annual Session Program Committee would like to wish ADIA a happy 100th anniversary. Happy 100th, ADIA!
I hope you enjoyed the video. Now back to embroidering within the boundaries. To engage our audience this morning, we will be using the online program Slido. Therefore, please take out your phones or tablets and go to the website slido.com, SLIDO.com, and enter the code ADEATT23. Again, that's ADEATT23. Again, go to slido.com to participate in audience polls. While you do that, I will share more about our guest. Our special guest for Tapestry Table is Minister Rangina Hamidi. Currently, she is a professor of practice at the Arizona State University Thunderbird School of Global Management. She is only the third woman to ever serve as the Afghanistan Minister of Education in 104 years, since the country's independence in 1919. Minister Hamidi served in this role from 2020 until the Taliban returned to power in August 2021. Concerned for her 12-year-old daughter's future, Minister Hamidi left Afghanistan at the end of August 2021, despite many leaders having fled or been evacuated on August 15th with the fall of the Kabul. Minister Hamidi is the co-author of Embroidering Within Boundaries, Afghan Women Creating a Future, which has won several awards. The book tells the story of using social and entrepreneurship to create a sustainable embroidery enterprise. This enterprise supports over 160 women through the Kandahar Treasure Project, developed by Minister Hamidi to assist women working within Afghanistan's cultural boundaries to elevate themselves out of poverty. Additionally, through Kandahar Treasure, she provides charitable support such as food assistance, eyeglasses, and winter clothing for the women of Kandahar. Please join me in welcoming Minister Hamidi and Dr. Sonia Smith, the ADIA Chief Diversity Officer.
Good morning, everyone. You look good, but we look good too. I am so honored to be with you. As Dr. West said, I am Sonia Smith, and I'm the Chief Diversity Officer. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm so excited to share Tapestry Table with you again this year. Last year we had Cookie Johnson. What is really awesome, though, is that I'm going to reveal a little secret early. Minister Hamidi and I have a very, very personal connection. She's not only a colleague, but she's a dear friend. And also, we graduated in December from the Arizona State University, we better say this, Thunderbird School of Global Management. We finished our master's degree in global affairs and management. We're part of the Washington, D.C. cohort, and she flew on the weekends from Phoenix to Washington, D.C. to have classes with us. Her sister lives in the area, so that made it a little bit easier, but I was so thrilled to have her as a classmate with our wonderful cohort, and we met in person, by the way. 800 pages.
Oh, yes.
You remember those 800 pages?
I do remember.
Every 2 weeks, 800 pages. So with that special connection, I was struck by Minister Hamidi because she is fire. People tell, if I'm the flame, she's the fire. There's so many stereotypes about Middle Eastern women. Would you say it?
I grew up with that, yes.
She's the complete opposite of whatever those stereotypes are. She used to set the classroom on fire. We'd be so content. And then she'd come out with something about how Westerners think. So thank you for putting us in our place. This is the way I'll leave it. So Minister Hamidi, I'm gonna jump right in. And your father was the mayor, right? I hope I got that right.
Mayor, yes.
And of Kandahar. And she is one of five girls, but I guess at the time you were one of four. And it was really interesting to me that in 1981, there are four girls, and the family goes to Pakistan, and then eventually they end up coming to the U.S. in 1988, and you became a U.S. citizen. You went to school in Arlington, Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. So you come from a family of activists. So can you just share a little about your journey and also about your father?
Thank you. First of all, it's an honor to be here, Sonia, and thank you so much for helping not only me, but millions of women, and maybe not even wrong to say billions of women, have a voice that often is missing. So thank you for this opportunity, and it's an honor to be here. My father, should I just say, was he an activist? not only an activist, but a feminist. And you would not believe that, particularly with the current events that we're hearing today. The Taliban, unfortunately, are predominantly belonging to my tribe, which is Pashtun. And my father was a Pashtun, my mother is a Pashtun.
What's a Pashtun?
Pashtun is a tribe. So Afghanistan is blessed to have multiple ethnicities in the country and tribes. And Pashtun is the majority tribe that has been kind of ruling and running the country for many centuries. But the current narrative is that all Pashtuns in Afghanistan are of the mindset of the Taliban. And what I want to share with you and the audience is that my father was a staunch Pashtun man, yet he believed in the power of educating his daughters.
Wow.
He was blessed with 5. And earlier we saw through the video that, and I told Dr. West, I said, when I was born, I was expected to be a boy because my mother had given birth to 3 already, and the 4th had to be a boy. So when the day that I was born and it was announced that it's a girl, the common response in the community and within the family was, oh my God, another one. But it was my grandfather, paternal grandfather, and my father who said, no, we are blessed with another angel, and we will value her and cherish her. So not all Pashtun men is the image of what the Taliban are portraying. That is not a cultural identity that my ethnicity has had. And my father, an activist, a hardworking, dignified man who took us out, who took the family out, his girls really, out of a country that was invaded by Russia. So we were the Ukraine of 1980s, Afghanistan, for those of you who remember history. And he wanted to give a different opportunity to his girls. And then living as refugees in Pakistan in the early 1980s, he invested in sending his daughters to school because public school systems in Pakistan did not allow for refugees to get schooling. And even though he personally invested in this, the predecessors of the Taliban, and at that time they were our allies because we called them the freedom fighters of Afghanistan, the US funded them, they came and knocked on our door and stopped my little sister and I from going to school.
Wow.
So this anti-schooling or anti-education effort is not an invention or creation of the Taliban per se. Predecessors of the Taliban did it too. And that was enough of a reason for my father to say, my daughters will not have a future here. And he immigrated to the US in 1988, where we settled and went on to complete our educational journey, only to return back to Afghanistan in 2003.
You know, that's amazing to me. I mean, he was ahead of his time. He was an early, what do they call them? Girl dads or girl dads, right? And it's a big thing now. So he was early, early. I know that I can't imagine how that felt, hearing that story about having, you were supposed to be a boy. And the culture. When you went to the refugee camps, one of the things that you said is that your father was adamant that he wasn't going to stay there, and how that impacted you and influenced your work ethic.
Absolutely. My father had the opportunity, like millions of Afghan men, to remain in a refugee camp where the United Nations and other international organizations were providing aid packages. But a proud man, who I am proudly calling him, even still, he's no longer with us, a workaholic. He said, my hands work, my feet work, my brain and my eyes work. Why would I sit and receive charity?
There are no workaholics in this audience, I want to tell you.
So he actually left the camp, went and found a job, a menial job, but a job nevertheless, and earned an income proudly to serve his family and feed his family. And so we grew up as children, we grew up with that ethical, mindset that you work for your future. You don't just take freebies. Of course, in emergencies, it's okay, of course. But to live off of rations all your life, culturally, that was an undignified way of living, and he chose not to live that life. And I'm so proud today that myself and my siblings and my family are all products of those decisions early in our lifetime that our father and our mother made, which made us who we are today.
You know, one of the things that, really has always struck me when you talk about your father is that he had to be very proud of you. Very, very, very proud of you. When you became Minister of Education, he came back, right?
He was no longer with us by the time I became Minister of Education. However, I went to Afghanistan as a young graduate, still living the utopian dream that the American education system gives us. You can go and change the world. And that's the mindset that I went to in 2003. For 4 years, he watched me come and go, because my family still lived in Virginia, even though I was working in Afghanistan. And by the end of 4th year, so 2007, he said, if my daughter can go and commit herself back to a country that she left when she was age 4, why can't I? So he came back, he quit his job of 20 years working with one company in the United States. He quit and said, I'm going to devote my life back to my country. And he came back and joined the government, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because joining the government, and this was the Karzai regime, so the initial 2007 until 2011 period, because of his work ethics, because of following moral standards of working and not committing to the corrupt ways of how other officials unfortunately operated, he created enough enemies for himself where in 2011, the enemies had become so big that it cost him his life. He was targeted and killed by a suicide bomber in July of 2011.
I can't imagine how old were you? How old were you?
I can't remember how old I was, but my daughter Zara, who's here today, she was only 18 months. And that was probably the most devastating time of my life. Because a country and a people that I committed to was the very country and people that took my best friend away from me.
You know, that's hard. You're going to make me cry. I told her not to make me cry. But, the commitment that your family have. I mean, she's so courageous. You are so courageous. You're one of the most courageous people that I know. And hearing the legacy that your father, that he continued to stand up for those values. It inspires all of us. I mean, not only you inspired us, but it's interesting how you had an impact on him to come back and to get involved and to say, I'm going to help make this country better. And we all need more of that resolve. So, so you are the first woman to become the Minister of Education in 30 years. You go back and you walk into the ministry the first day. You're the new minister. What was your biggest challenge that you faced, biggest educational challenge for Afghanistan, and what was your strategy for addressing it?
So let me answer that by first saying, unlike a lot of my colleagues in the cabinet who were dying to become ministers, I mean, who doesn't want to become a minister in a country? But when I was offered the position, I rejected it initially.
Why?
Because I did not think, having no background in political career, and no real interest in how politics were playing, politics was playing around me and in my country. I did not think that this was a place that I wanted to be in.
So how did the president of the country ask you to become know about you, or to ask you to become the Minister of Education if you didn't have any political background, political connections?
I actually had started, again, because of my daughter. My daughter was of school age, age 7, and I was on this frantic, almost pathway to say, what am I going to do? Do I continue to dedicate my life and my work to the work here in Afghanistan at the cost of not educating my daughter? Or do I do something where my daughter can get a world-class education but still be with me here in this country. And so my good friend who's an educationist, he had the idea of starting a world-class education school, high school in Afghanistan. And when he registered it, he didn't want to run it. He's more a thinker, not a doer. I'm a doer, not necessarily a thinker. And so the collaboration enabled us to start and register the first international school in Afghanistan.
Wow, okay.
At which my daughter was the first student. The president over the next three and a half years had heard about that school and my commitment and my leadership and how a different option was made available to Afghanistan to educate its children. And
a different model.
A different model. And so he used the school as an opportunity to bring me on board to run a whole ministry. Now, I understood one of the reasons why I rejected the offer was running a school is different than running a ministry.
Right.
I knew the difference. However, about a week of back and forth finally convinced me as a mother, as a teacher, as an educator, that if not now, then when?
You know, it's interesting. One of the things, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but my first job out of college, I was a high school teacher. Can you imagine? Brand new school, opened a brand new school in Laverne, Tennessee, rural outside of Nashville. I sponsored the student council, the Beta Club. I mean, you know, you're a new teacher, you're excited. But the reason I taught was because I felt I owed a debt.
Right.
And had it not been for some great teachers in that rural community, I would have never gone to college. But believe me, I paid back that debt. I paid that debt back. Have you ever had to keep 9th grade boys in a study hall? They don't know what to do with themselves. They really don't. So going into that, you're not a politician, okay? So you're stepping in, and what did you see as the biggest challenge?
Oh my God, there were so many, but I guess the biggest one was that I thought that the country and the 5,000 staff ministry that I inherited, and this is only 5,000 staff members in the headquarters, I thought they really cared about education. I really thought they cared about the future of the service that we were providing to our children.
They're in education, I don't understand.
You don't understand. Politics. The Ministry of Education of Afghanistan from even prior to 2001, but let's focus on 2001 until 2020 when I joined. The ministers had all been appointed based on their political affiliations with one party or another.
Okay.
They were all men. None of my predecessors, at least in the past 20 years, had any educational background. They'd never stepped a foot inside a school to be a teacher or be a principal. They did not understand education from that technical perspective. But at the same time, their agenda was more to serve their political interest, the political party that had backed them.
Oh, they didn't know what to do with you when you walked in.
Exactly.
Because you're interested in education and
Absolutely.
they're politicians. Okay.
And everybody assumed that I was there for another political interest. And when they started to hear my vision and my strategic plan and my reform agenda of what I wanted to do with the education system, everybody was shocked and surprised because they did not know how to take that. They weren't used to that. And very quickly, I learned that not only was my lack of a political backing a problem, but I was a woman.
Right.
I was a woman running a predominantly male institution, even though the Ministry of Education's population, the 270,000, including the 220,000 teachers that we had across the country, about 39% of our whole population constituted women, but a woman had never served in a leadership position. In fact, the ministries, we had one deputy minister before my coming, but all the directorates in the 34 provinces of Afghanistan, as well as the directors' positions in Kabul, which was about 20 additional, none of them were women. And so all these men all of a sudden have a unknown woman that they've never heard of and relatively young, but also someone who had come from America. I had studied in America, I'd grown up in America. So it was also this, how dare you?
So you're like a big outsider.
I'm
you're
a
not
big
a politician. You are you've been educated in America. Taboo.
Exactly.
You are the ultimate outsider.
I was the ultimate
And then you're
outsider.
a woman.
And then I'm a woman. And I come to bring an agenda that nobody's used to implementing because it's about improving our service and children. And all of a sudden they start hearing that the children and the teachers are my priorities and not the stakeholders, the political stakeholders, who wanted to be at that center stage because the Ministry of Education was a perfect platform for parliamentarians, for other dignitaries in the country, because they utilized the space of the education system to promote their political agendas, and I refused to not even look at them. So that was a huge, huge clash of what people wanted to see a minister.
You know, I'm trying to get a lay of the land how the system, though, is very much like in the U.S. because, like, you're like the federal level, as I would say, and then you had provinces, right?
Provinces, right.
And then the local.
Right.
So the local school system. So very much organized like American schools. So, but ultimately, one of the things that, in talking to you, that I learned is that the local school system really controlled a lot of what was happening. And one of the things that you were sharing with me is that people used to talk about that there's not enough teachers, so we shouldn't educate. And you went and started getting data. So tell us about that.
So I'm originally from Kandahar, Afghanistan, or at least I was born in Kandahar, Afghanistan, where my family's from, and that's in southern Afghanistan. Historically, the southern and the eastern region of Afghanistan have consistently been neglected from not only educational opportunities, but also development and progress, generally speaking. As soon as I went in, and this is where my educational background in America helped, is I knew how important data was. So I started asking questions that should have been asked. And I quickly learned that it was difficult to find the answers. My initial questions were, what percentage of girls, and because of course that I'm a woman and my interest is more in girls' education, what percentage of girls actually do graduate from the time they enroll in grade 1 to 12th grade? No data available. Which communities across Afghanistan have resources, both for buildings, the infrastructure of building schools, as well as number of teachers? So even though it was a desegregated or decentralized system of allowing each of the 34 provinces to plan and strategize for themselves, the decision-making control was always centralized, always in Kabul.
Okay.
And so what had happened is over 20 years, I quickly learned that resources across the country were not allocated justly and equally across the country. Those provinces that had higher advocacy from parliamentarians or other stakeholders received more funding and more infrastructure development. Areas that were a little slow, they kind of got put behind the scenes, and not only did they not receive any special funding and infrastructure support, the allocated teachers were taken from those provinces and given to other provinces. So a stark example of data, I'm from Kandahar. Kandahar and Mazar is another province in the north. Balkh is the name of the province. Mazar Sharif is the city name. These two provinces are comparable both in terms of the size of land and the population, although Kandahar is slightly larger in population. On June 2020, when I became minister, Kandahar had 6,000 formal teachers, while Mazar had 21,000 formal teachers. I don't need to go to any much more analysis of this to see the stark difference of a place that is 1/3 the amount of teachers from another place. And there was so much more data that spoke very starkly about the injustice of 20 years of international community's involvement, yet the population of Afghanistan, the children of Afghanistan, never received equal treatment, even within their country, from the leadership in education ministry to get access to education like other children did.
I've heard you talk about that people, so you're leading this vision, but then you've got a, I guess, how many employees did you?
5,000, over 5,000.
And that
yeah.
everyone who's reporting you to you is a man, right?
Mostly,
And
yes.
then, so you were talking about how people were working against you. And as a woman and the ultimate outsider, I get a better picture of that. What are the things that you and I constantly talk about is the importance of hope? And Dr. Nada Shahi, the theme, Believe I'm Possible. And we were talking about your experience in working with the children there and the need to foster hope. Yeah. You want to talk more about that?
You know, in countries like Afghanistan, where decades of war and destruction and outside forces, wars don't just bring buildings down and take paved roads away. Wars take hope away from people. And when children are growing up without a notion of thinking about a tomorrow, because the ability to think about tomorrow is to have some sense of hope in you, because you believe in tomorrow, and that's why you can think about it. But when you're forced to, as a community, as a people, to constantly think about just today, it's on a survival mode. And so instilling hope to a community that is hopeless, it's no easy task.
So what's the impact?
The impact is that you can't give up. You cannot, my effort to continue to instill hope was in deciding last December, this past January, really, less than 3 months ago, even though everybody, including yourself,
said, please don't go back to Afghanistan.
But that fire within me and that fire under my feet told me that, and I didn't know what I was expecting, but after the fact, after taking this short trip back to Afghanistan, meeting with the women, meeting with the children, seeing people, I realized that my mere visit instilled hope again.
That's really interesting, because what she's talking about, we're going to talk about a little later, but I'm going to jump there. So we're graduating, and she comes up to me and she goes, I want to tell you that I'm about to leave and go back to Afghanistan. And I just kind of looked at her like, why? And it was very scary to me as a friend and a colleague, but when she and her husband left, the Taliban announced. So the minister, the first woman, Minister of Education, is coming, and she had to get permission to come from the Taliban back to her country, right? They announce that the day that you get on a plane, that women can no longer go to the university. She's en route. She doesn't know. So one of my staff members runs to me and says, have you seen this announcement? And I said, I got to get on WhatsApp and let her know. The world is very small, so I was scared to death. That I just thought, I don't believe a lot in coincidences. And so it was very frightening to me that you were going, but you started sending those pictures talking about the many things that you accomplished, and and I could see the hope in people's faces. So, but that was still very scary for all of us. You were gone for how long?
3 weeks.
3 weeks, and so every day you were sending all of us pictures and everything. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But one of the questions that we as Westerners always say is, looking oftentimes at countries that have continued to experience lots of wars, the Russian invasion, and then, America, counterterrorism. We always, I'm not sure that we have a clear understanding of why the Taliban and various, forces continue to excel in those countries or grow in those countries. I've heard someone call it Taliban 2.0 because of their use of social media is phenomenal. But you traced it all back to education.
You know, the day the country fell, or the day the republic fell, I was in my office, acting like everything was normal. I did not know, like the whole world did not know, that Afghanistan was going to fall this way. And that night was a very scary night because we had no idea what was going to happen. And as you said in your introductions, I didn't just pack my things and left because I didn't think that that was the proper way of handling the transition. But on the 5th day after the fall, so August 20th, the Taliban actually invited me to meet with them at the ministry.
I would have been scared half to death.
I went.
I know you did. I wouldn't have.
And some of the world members, especially women activists in Afghanistan, criticized me for taking the
meeting.
The meeting. And the reason for my meeting is coming back to exactly to your point, is that if we do, you know, we are teaching empathy now. The whole world is talking about being empathetic. As a teacher, I wanted to, and I always wanted to understand what makes someone to become like a Talib, whether it's a 1.0 or 2.0 or God forbid 3.0 and so on. There's something that happens in the child upbringing that enables them or that prepares them to become of a Talib mentality type. And the reason, my assessment of the reasons why these members of the Taliban are the way they are is because their educational journey is very different than what a normal child goes through. At age 5 and 6, these are only boys, never a girl. These boys are recruited to go to a madrasa. And madrasa, historically, for all of you who are interested, madrasa is a place of learning. Madrasa was never intended historically to become a place of training terrorism. Politics in the past couple of decades have turned madrasa into a training ground for terrorism. But imagine these 5-year-old boys snatched away from the love and the comfort of his mother and the women folk at home, taken to an all-male, only boys, managed and run by older men who may abuse them, both sexually and physically, mentally, who are indoctrinated to think and study only the things that these men want them to think, completely secluded from the rest of the world and the rest of the normal open society. And then as young adults, they're thrown out to the society to go and carry out your mission. Now, for me as a mother, and again as an educator, to be empathetic, I need to understand where they come from.
Right.
And if we all reject speaking to them, talking with them, communicating with them, we're only perpetuating that cycle. If we, as the open, educated society, understand that through communication, through interaction, through experiences, we change people, why aren't we investing enough in reaching out to the people who have never had that opportunity? So that was my way of reaching out and understanding. And I'm not saying and I'm not proposing that what I'm doing or what I'm proposing is going to change all the politics of it, because at the end of the day, we all know that this is a political movement. Taliban 2.0 did not just spring out from themselves. This is an educated crowd. We all know where the hub of terrorist training camps are. We kind of can guess and probably know who's supporting them financially and politically. And the fact that, I'm going to make a political statement, so I apologize for that, but the Trump administration actively invited the Taliban directly to communicate with them 3 years before the fall of my government in my country, completely excluding my government from those communication or from that interaction. Of course, the Taliban were empowered to come back to power as they did in 2021.
In 2021. We're, you know, one of the things listening to you talk, and we talked about a lot in our classes, was the importance of investing in girls. Thus, everyone is sporting. Oh, Lord, I lost my pen. But I
It's okay,
think
I have it.
you have your United Nations gender equality pins. And we know that when you invest in women and girls, it transforms their lives. They are healthier, more productive, and they can basically have more autonomy in terms of producing and taking care of themselves and determining their own futures. They don't marry as early, as teenagers, which we see a reoccurrence of as, in Afghanistan now. So we're going to go to an audience poll question. If you haven't gone to Slido.com, go there and enter you'll see a hashtag and enter the code ADIA TT23, that's Tapestry Table 23. And now for our first poll question. So what the question is, globally, each additional year a girl spends in school can boost her earnings as an adult by up to what %? So globally, each additional year a girl spends in school can boost her earnings as an adult by up to what %? As you weigh in, turn to somebody sitting near you and tell them why you selected the answer. Take a few seconds. Like, why did you pick this, whatever answer that you've selected? What's your rationale?
They're having fun.
Y'all are really getting into it. My goodness.
What's your answer?
Okay, well, I'm gonna give you the answer. Well, the reason I realized y'all got into it is because it's a room full of academics, so that makes sense. So the answer is 20%. Y'all went, wow. So, the World Bank states that limited educational opportunities for girls and barriers to completing 12 years of education costs $15 trillion and $30 trillion in lost lifetime productivity and earnings. That is huge. The report, of course, says that primary education is not enough. Minister Hamidi, your life story bears this out as a statistic. We've talked about that a bit. One of the things we're going to do right now is we're going to call on our sponsors, because as we've been talking about and sharing more about what has happening in Afghanistan, you've heard Dr. Nada Shahi talk a little bit about his mother's experience and the courage and how she invested in others. One of the things we asked our sponsors was, Procter & Gamble, what are you doing and how are you investing internally and globally in the lives of women? And so I want to hear from them. I'm going to ask the Procter & Gamble representatives to please stand. Where are they? There you are. First of all, thank you for serving as our minister, for our sponsors, because I think this is our 3rd year in Tapestry Table, and I'm really excited to say that you have supported us. You have continued to support us each year, and that means so much to us. It really does. So go ahead and let's go to their slide. As I scroll through here. So one of the things that we ask you to do is, share about the initiatives. Bernadette Slafer is the Scientific Relations Manager at Procter & Gamble. So Bernadette, why don't you just share a little with us?
Sure, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Well, we aspire to build a better world for all of us, inside and outside of P&G, a world free from gender bias, with equal voice and equal representation for all individuals, all humans. A world where everyone sees equal. When we do this, economies grow, communities are healthier, businesses thrive, and the world's a better place for everyone. So #WeSeeEqual. So a few things that we're doing at P&G to help is, first, we're leveraging our significant voice in advertising and media to tackle gender bias. The Association of National Advertisers #SeeHer study showed that 40% of women feel that they are inaccurately portrayed through some form of stereotyping, objectification, and diminished character. As one of the biggest advertisers in the world, we leverage our powerful voice to help tackle bias and motivate change. One example you might remember was a media campaign for Always, Like a Girl campaign. And a few other examples are our partnership with Sesame Street and Share a Load campaign. Second, we're removing barriers to education for girls and creating economic opportunities for women through corporate and brand programs and policy advocacy. Did you know that only 20% of women consider a tech career versus 62% of men? And at P&G, we rely heavily on skilled STEM workforce. So we've built programs that focus on getting more girls and women into STEM, like our Girls Who Code program. Our Always Keeping Girls in School program is another example where we've donated more than 50 million period products to keep girls in school.
Wow.
And thirdly, we're creating an inclusive gender equal environment within P&G while advocating for gender and intersectional equality workplaces everywhere so that everyone can contribute to their full potential. We're committed to creating a culture where everyone is treated equally and can contribute. That's why achieving 50-50 representation in all parts of our company is a top priority. We do this through recruiting, benefits, and are proud to be a founding corporate partner of leanin.org. In each of these areas, we partner with highly engaged organizations that share our commitment, combining our resources, talents, and skills to have a greater impact. Today, we're so proud to partner with ADEA to bring you this Tapestry table.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, P&G, I love your commercials. It always strikes me at how you all go against the grain in terms of how you represent diversity. So thank you. Thank you so much. We also have with us representatives from Haleon. Would you please stand? Where are you? Thank you for being here and for serving as a sponsor. Kim Adanasi is the Country Medical Affairs Senior Scientist. Right? I got to make sure. She's got this long title. Country Medical Affairs Senior Scientist, Oral Care, North America. So thank you, Kim, for being here. Last year, you all, you supported us also in Tapestry Table. It means so much. So why don't you just share a little about what your organization is doing?
Yeah, of course. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all again. And thank you for standing with my team. I love that. So at Haleon, we have a strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. One way we bring this to life is through our employee resource groups that are also known as ERGs, where they're fully supported and funded by our company leadership. We have employee resource groups that are focused on women, and it's known as Women at Haleon. This employee-led group focuses on promoting gender balance, leadership development for women, increasing gender representation in all levels, and helping to create an environment where all people feel they belong regardless of gender. They hold internal events to educate and drive awareness for employees, such as seminars on wellness and career paths, and panels on topics like uplifting women in the workplace. The group also drives awareness for external events like International Women's Day and Girls in Science, which I'll share more with you shortly. We also have #IamRemarkable, which aims to encourage everyone to develop the confidence and competence to engage in self-promotion. #IamRemarkable is a Google initiative focused on empowering women and underrepresented groups to think openly about their accomplishments in the workplace and beyond, thereby breaking modesty norms and glass ceilings. We empower our people to celebrate their remarkable selves, to support each other in celebrating our accomplishments, to feel confident to express the experiences and achievements that make us who we are today, and to recognize what makes each of us uniquely remarkable. We also are empowering women through our employee policies and engagement. We have new parental leave principles. We have a compelling purpose to drive better everyday health with humanity. And what better way to live this purpose than to support our colleagues at the most important time in their lives? From January 1st, 2023, all new parents, regardless of gender and sexuality, the country you live, or how long you've worked with us, will be entitled to 26 weeks of fully paid parental leave following the arrival of a child into your life.
That is one of the most generous leave policies I have ever heard of.
In America.
Thank you. Wow. You're leading. You're definitely leading.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so this parental leave is a global minimum for everyone, whether they're welcoming your children or child biologically, via surrogacy, or through adoption.
Wow.
So our global minimum parental leave policy is one of the most progressive among multinational companies and reflects our purpose to deliver better everyday health with humanity. It is our commitment to giving equal opportunities to our colleagues at an important time in their lives to focus on raising a family in the knowledge that their Haley-on careers can continue to flourish. It is also our commitment to achieving gender equality through the workplace, and our plans is to foster an inclusive environment at Haley-on. People's everyday health is what drives us all to succeed, regardless of age, identity, or family structure. Our approach to parental leave supports our ambition for a better, healthier future together. This year, we celebrated International Women's Day, which was on March 23rd. And the theme this year was #EmbraceEquity. Equity isn't just nice to have, it's a must-have. A focus on gender equity needs to be part of every society's DNA, and it's critical to understand the difference between equity and equality. International Women's Day 2023's campaign theme aims to get the world thinking about why equal opportunities are no longer enough. And so we also understand that we have Girls in Science and a STEM program. Our Girls in Science program takes engineers and scientists that we understand are fundamental in shaping the world around us, especially when it comes to health. And in the UK, we've recently partnered with the Brooklands Innovation Academy, a program that inspires and supports young people to become the next generation of scientists and engineers. Recently, our team of scientists and engineers behind the science of brands like Sensodyne and Parodontax had the privilege of leading a STEM event with over 400 students. In the US this year, we've also welcomed our first set of students from the Cristo Rey Network to one of our global R&D centers of excellence in Richmond, Virginia. Through our program, the students are able to work at our R&D site for 5 days a month, providing an opportunity for young people in disadvantaged communities to understand the impact science can have in real life and the breadth of opportunities for a career in STEM. Recently, in the UK, Haley-on has been recognized by FTSE Women's Leaders. It's an independent business forum. We were recognized as a top performer in gender balance and representation to improve women on boards and in leadership positions. So through our policies, we hope to inspire, we hope to help us all flourish, and to encourage us to look after ourselves, our families, and to support those around us and our planet.
Thank you. I love it's like a holistic mission, so thank you so much. Thank you for being a sponsor, but thanks for leading also. You know, one of the things that Dr. West mentioned was that one of the important things that Kandahar Treasure has two parts. First of all, I'm sporting, for those of you, this beautiful scarf. Around the room, you see them on stage. It's hard for me to think that these are sewn by hand. It looks like it's something a machine would do. And that women, that they are so talented, that I know there's a special technique. What's the technique called?
Kamak.
Kamak. that they utilize. I was given this one for my birthday in December, and I thought I'd sport it, but I hope you look at the design. It's it's exquisite.
Can I add to that actually? Because from a STEM perspective, mathematics fall in STEM. This technique of embroidery is a very fine, counted stitch. And these are women who have never been to school. So if you wrote for them on a paper, 2 + 2 = a question mark, they couldn't write for you 4. Yet, incredibly, through their mental skill set of embroidering, they can create incredible geometric designs through their needle and thread and stitch. So it's a skill that exists, but it's just not expressed in the form that we are used to.
That's interesting. Well, I just don't think I had the patience to sew this. I really don't. I couldn't do it. We want to give you the opportunity to help support the women of Kandahar. In your seats, there is it looks like a postcard. On 10 of those postcards are stars. And the people, if you grab a star, you get to win a free copy of Embroidering Within the Boundaries. And you take that card. Look, she's holding it up like I won. Me! This is not The Price is Right. But you can redeem your free book at the table at the end. One of the things I'm just so overwhelmed, but you get eyeglasses, particular clothing, food during the winter. You can support the women of Kandahar if you wish by buying a book. You can scan the QR code, or you can go to the publisher's website to support the women of Kandahar. All of the proceeds from the book go to the women. And it's so funny, when I asked her to speak, she didn't care about the fee. All she said is, that means that I can support, and she went through this number of people for 3 months. So you're just so unselfish. She didn't care about the fee. She's like, I don't care about the fee. Whatever you give me, I'm going to use for the women of Kandahar. So if you want to support them, please, we ask that you do. So while you're doing that, we're going to talk a bit more. One of the things I want to hone in on is we're going to go to a poll question also in a minute, but not right now. We want them to give. I want you to talk to me about what the healthcare system and the oral health system in Afghanistan is like.
Well, unfortunately, as you can imagine, it takes time for people to complete education, particularly in the health sector. To become a doctor is no easy task. And the dental hygiene, to be quite frank and honest, is relatively new phenomenon in Afghanistan. Having been living through war and destruction from 1979 onwards, there was very little for the majority of the population to focus on its needs. And oral hygiene and health is considered a luxury.
Yeah.
So it was not a priority. But the medical industry, our statistics for having female medical doctors in the country and even nurses is not enough for the population that it serves, particularly in the rural areas.
What are there, like 38 million people in Afghanistan?
About,
yeah,
yes.
I looked on the FBI website. They had that information. I don't know, but I found that really interesting, because one of the things we know that in that the World Health Organization, thank goodness, is stressing oral health. There are nearly 3.5 billion people worldwide who are affected by oral health disease. Looking at children, 514 million suffer from caries on their primary dental teeth. But one of the things we were talking about is that in February that the Taliban closed a clinic. It was run by a Santa Barbara dentist who'd been there like 10 years, and he had provided service to like 250,000 people, and the Taliban closed it. One of the things we wanted to ask you, though, is based on the latest data that we have, what percentage of Afghan dentists do you think are women, and what percent do you think are of them, the medical doctors, are women? I was kind of like surprised, but remember there are 38 million people, according to the FBI website, that make up Afghanistan. And
Will the audience take the poll or not?
they're taking the poll.
They're taking the poll. Should I give the answer?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Give them a second. Don't jump the gun. Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
All right. So the correct answer is 22% of the women are dentists, and 20% of women are in the medical, are medical doctors. And I want to add to that that with the current ban on education opportunities, both for girls in the primary, secondary schools, but also universities, the pipeline in the near future is going to dry up. Because having 20% women doctors.
And of course, men cannot treat
And of
women.
course, exactly, the ban on women not being able to be treated by men. I don't know what the time frame is really going to be, but if girls do not continue their education, there will come a time when there's no longer going to be doctors to treat women.
You know, one of the things I found interesting is in October 2022, the Taliban told that girls who had completed the 12th grade that they could, before they took power, could take the national exams for college, so they could go to college, but they blocked certain majors. The majors they blocked were economics, engineering, journalism, and vet med, which I never got the vet med piece. I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to introduce your family to us.
Well, thank you for that. And I talked a lot about my dad in my primary years, but I'm also blessed to be married to a wonderful, supporting husband who also happens to be a Pashtun. And I keep stressing this because the media has done injustice to my tribe by painting this one unanimous picture of all Pashtun men. So Abdullah, if you can stand up, thank you. Thank you. Abdullah is a civil engineer by training in Afghanistan. He has lived through the entire war, Taliban 1.0, after that, and we met after I returned. And then we're blessed with a beautiful daughter who does not have the easiest life living with a mother like me. But one thing to say proudly is at age 13, she's already counted that she's been to 12 different countries in the world, and she wants to, before her 14th birthday, travel to a 13th country. So that's a new goal, and I'm blessed to have both of you in my life.
Thank you for being here. She talks about you all the time, both of you. In class, you were used often as examples. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you. So, you know, we are so happy that you're here. One of the things that we always like to do is give our guests the last word. I mean, if there's anything or one thing that you would want us to take away from this conversation to remember, what do you think it is? What's the one takeaway?
You know, having been born a girl child to a family that my immediate family welcomed me well, but the extended family, the society, of course, had a problem with that. And then at this juncture of my life, having been blessed with a daughter myself, I'm empowered enough to see the world of women and the world of girls as being my own girls. And seeing the powerful young women in Iran, which is our neighboring country to Afghanistan, in spite of the hardships that women have faced under the current regime for many, many years, decades. And then also understanding the power of dirty politics that are still at play, whether we like it or not. I am so confident that the 21st century does belong to women and girls.
Woo! International Women's Leadership Conference. That's all I'm going to say. 2024, New Orleans.
And and this does not mean, I want to tell all the men in the room, just because we focus on women and girls does not mean that we are turning our face away from men and boys.
Yeah,
They're
gender
equally,
equality.
exactly. You men are equally important, but I think throughout history, the world has shown that the men's way of leading, struggle for power through fighting and killing and destructing, which unfortunately we see even today. Look at Ukraine, look at Russia.
One of the things is interesting. I mean, leadership is male dominated, whether we want to talk about it or not. I mean, there's a thing where they say draw a leader, and 90% of people draw a man.
Exactly.
And I find that very telling.
So to take with you today, please remember that yes, the media paints and portrays us as voiceless, immobile, quiet, suppressed, oppressed women in the global south. Because remember, there is now this distinction between the global north and the global south. But I promise you that if not in my lifetime, I'm leaving a legacy behind, and I wish and I hope for those millions of legacies to change the world, because once we start believing in girl power and women's power, that is when change will come. And I have full faith in that.
Thank you, Minister Hamidi, for being here. Just a few closing announcements. We invite you to have coffee in the exhibit hall. The educational sessions will start at 10:30. Lunch today is in the exhibit hall, so go there and have lunch and socialize with one another. I'm asking the award winners, principal officers, Drs. McLeod and Valakovic, and the NIDL scholars to please stay. Minister Hamidi, thank you. Our sponsors, P&G, Haleon, thank you. Love you. See you next year in New Orleans. Bye-bye.